Hello everyone and welcome back to the Poker Mondays set. Now today I'm going to be talking about graded cards and what you can expect when using certain services. In this instance, a company called Ace Grading. Now Ace Grading, I believe, was born out of another company called Grader Gem, which was a UK based establishment that provided a service where they would send cards off to PSA for grading. However, that relationship broke down just as I was about to give them a try, and sooner or later, Ace Grading was born. To tell you the truth, there are loads of grading services out there, and if you're like me and you see them all advertising on social media, or you see cards for sale with unknown grading companies on them, it can be a bit daunting trying to figure out whether you can trust them or not. Ace Grading has one of the best reputations around, and probably the best reputation in the UK, so I thought I'd give them a try and see what I got back. Now, before we start, just a quick note on the customer service side of things. I sent a whole variety of cards, old, new, promotional, and foreign language too. While you can follow the progress of your cards throughout the process, I did also receive a couple of messages from them whilst they were grading my cards as well. One was to double check how to go about grading a French card that I sent in because they only had English and Japanese in their database. But also, when it was all done, I got a note to say that they hadn't actually graded 3 of them because they didn't fit the cases. One of those doesn't surprise me because I sent one of these, the metal promo cards from the Pokemon Celebrations Ultra Premium Collection. It wasn't in their database either, but you can add cards, like the French one, and they'll process it if they can. But granted, these are a bit thicker and heavier than standard cards, so that's one of them, but I have no idea why the other 2 weren't graded, and I don't even know which ones, so we'll have a look when we get into it. But enough with the preamble, let's switch scenes and get to opening these boxes. Now, when I say these boxes, what I actually mean is that I got a big box with these 2 boxes in. However, I'm quite zoomed in so that you can see the cards in a bit more detail, so I've already gone ahead and opened that box up and taken these out. Now, I have about 20-25 cards in all. I'm not sure which one's which, but I do know that obviously one of them is supposed to have some of the cards that weren't graded for whatever reason. So I'm going to put one of these aside, and we can start opening this up and seeing what has come back. Now, this is the first grading service I've actually ever used, so I don't really know what to expect, but obviously I do know that they have, Ace Grading in particular, has a good reputation, so whatever the case may be, I imagine these have been graded properly. So this, I assume, is the one that doesn't have the cards that weren't graded in it. But let's have a look what we have in here. Well, I can already see what one of them is, but I'm not going to show you just yet. We're going to go from the back and we're going to turn them over and have a look. So we know a Japanese one is first up, and that is our... Well, that's interesting. So we got a 9 mint. This is the Japanese Blastoise VMAX. This is from the Japanese starter set. And in fact, we've got one of these still in the starter set, which we'll be showing on stream. A 9, can't really complain with that. I mean, this was pretty much straight out of the box. I mean, one thing that I am noticing is the casings aren't perfect. There are some little bits of, I don't know, glue or imperfections on the case. That's not great. I mean, the actual bit that holds the card seems fine, but yeah, the bit that has the label on it is a bit imperfect. I can't really say what it is exactly, but I don't know if it's glue or some scratches or something, but either way. Okay, so we got a 9 for our Japanese Blastoise VMAX. We got another Japanese card here, and that's another Japanese Blastoise from the same box. So these 2 were relatively consistent. These came out straight out of the same box. 2 9s straight off the bat, so that makes sense. One thing I do notice is that on Ace Grading, I don't think it's an option, but they don't seem to do like subgrades, so, you know, telling you why it's a 9 exactly, you know, why is it not a 10? Is it the centering or what? We don't know. Again, the case isn't perfect. It's a lot better than the other one, though. Okay, so we're moving on to some Western cards, and we have... Oh, that's interesting. Now, this is a Charizard Blackstar promo, which came out of the Elite Trainer box, which I think is the Champion's Path Elite Trainer box. This is straight out of the box, straight out the pack, and it's only come out as an 8. Now, I think I sent multiple of this, or I at least had multiple of it. But obviously, we don't know why that's an 8, not a 9 or a 10. But if we were to... Is this one as well? No, that is not one of them. That is the Rainbow Salamance VMAX. I think I have another one of these. I think I sent one of those, if I remember correctly. So I'm just going to keep that aside. Can't argue with that one. The casing... Again, it's not perfect, but I mean, it's quite a nice case, and they do nice labels. But yeah, it's not... I mean, even the bit where the card is being held, there's a little bit of imperfection there. I still think the card is going to be protected, but still. Anyway, moving on. We have Salamance VMAX, not the Rainbow version, and this one is getting a 10 gem mint. So this is the Darkness Ablaze one. I don't think this was from our when we pulled this out of a box on the stream, but again, yeah, it seems to be every one of these. The cases are slightly imperfect. And I don't know if it's that they're scratched, or I don't know what it is. It seems strange that, obviously I've got a 10 gem mint card, but it's not in a 10 gem mint casing. But either way, I mean, they're thick and sturdy. I mean, if we can compare this to one from PSA, I mean, I don't know if that's coming through on camera, but the thickness is quite substantial in comparison. It's not really coming through on camera. But that's a PSA graded case, and then the ace grading ones, they're heavy. There is some weight to these. These will definitely keep the card protected. It's just a shame that it's not perfect, but there we go. So we had a Darkness Ablaze Rainbow and a Darkness Ablaze just the full art. So one is a 9 and one is a 10. Okay, that's pretty cool. Moving on, we had our Dark Raichu. Oh wow, and that's a 6. I mean, that is low considering... I mean, I thought that card was in decent shape. Now, I know it's not... This was not going to get a 10, because there is a tiny, tiny little imperfection down in the bottom corner. I'm surprised to not see that get like a 7 or an 8, but then if we're looking at this one, and this is an 8, straight out of the box, I've had this Dark Raichu since 2000. I pulled it out of a pack, so we could assume that it might have gone down a grade or 2, and it has gone down 2 grades, but... I mean, 6 seems a bit harsh for that. I thought that was in pretty good condition all around. But again, I mean, this isn't necessarily about selling these cards. These are cards that I wanted to protect, and these cases will definitely protect them. But yeah, it's a little bit disappointing that that's only got a 6. But I mean, that kind of speaks to maybe their grading level. They're pretty harsh. One thing that you need to bear in mind when you're using these services is that sometimes companies will grade cards high on purpose so that you use them, but then when you go on eBay or whatever, you can't necessarily trust the grade that you're getting. When you've got a company that is very harsh with its gradings, then I'd say they are harsh, but you at least know that you can trust it. Okay, yeah, so this is an example of a 7 then. Okay, so this was a little bit younger. Obviously, this Dark Raichu is from the year 2000. This is from 2015. This was pulled out of a breakthrough pack, and I've had it in a folder since then. It was in a folder, and then it was put in a semi-rigid. So, we can assume that it wasn't going to be perfect. Again, a 7 seems... I mean, I'm trying to understand their grading scale a little bit. 7 seems quite harsh considering the condition that it's in, but then if you were to compare it to that Charizard, which was an 8, then even if it's harsh, I think at least it's consistent. I think that's probably what we want to see out of a grading service like this. It's okay if the grades are slightly lower than you wanted, as long as they're consistent in what they're doing and you can kind of understand the levels. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm starting to see, if that's a 6 and then that's a 7 and that's an 8, that kind of makes sense. But still seems a little low. But you know, that is what it is. Okay, so we got, from Roaring Skies, we got the Rayquaza, which I know it's Rayquaza, but I say Rayquaza, and that's an 8 gem mint. Now, obviously, these two are from the same sort of period, and obviously you can expect maybe a grade or two difference between the two, so that's, you know, that's fine. I would have thought that would be close to an 8, but, you know, 7s and 8s, and I guess you can't complain too much when the cards are 7 years old at this point, and I've had them since then. You know, they have been sat in a folder, and, you know, they're not going to be perfect. And then this was my French Dark Blastoise. Now, obviously, this isn't the holo version of this. I do have a holo version, which I've sent in, but that one wasn't in the best condition. But I got this one around about the same time. So I got a few packs of English and French cards. So if we were to get the Dark Raichu up, I got these two around about the same time. I think we went on a holiday, and I maybe got the English pack just before the holiday, or maybe even at the airport, and then we got some French ones on holiday as well. So I actually have a few French ones, and I think if I was to use either this service or another service, I would send in some more of the French ones to get an idea, because I think I have a Dark Arbok in English from the English pack, and then a Dark Arbok or Arbok Obscure from a French pack, and so it's similar to this. Obviously, I'm assuming the Dark Blastoise is in the other box, but it's not as comparable, because obviously this one is the non-holo version, and the English one was the holo version. But an 8 for the fact that it's from the year 2000, I mean, that's pretty good. I kind of not really seeing why that would be an 8 and that would be a 6, but there is that slight imperfection, so maybe the Dark Raichu deserves a 7, but an 8 for the Dark Blastoise or the Tortank Obscure, okay, I can kind of understand that. So okay, so we're getting an idea of how their grading service works. It's sort of tough but fair, I guess. I'd say very tough, but still. Let's open this other box up. Okay, so this box, it appears, has the ones that weren't graded. I'm assuming that's them, and I think that's the metal card I can see. So let me just put this box aside, and we can open this up and have a look. Be very careful with the knife not to hit any of the cards. Like I say, they said that they didn't grade 3 of them because it didn't fit the case. Now, I don't understand how that's a thing, because the only one that shouldn't have fit the case would be one of these, the metal cards, because they are slightly, well, you can't really see from there, but they are slightly thicker, so that would make sense if they couldn't grade this one. But the other two, I don't know. Every other card that I sent in was a standard card, other than that metal one, so your guess is as good as mine. Sorry, this is taking a little while, but I'm trying to be careful not to hit the cards. Oh, okay, so they didn't grade my Ancient Muse, which is weird because... So first of all, I sent 3 of these in, and I'm pretty sure Ancient Mew was one of the ones that was already in their database, and I don't see why this wouldn't be graded. I mean, I have a PSA graded Ancient Mew. No grade, no holder, no fee. I don't quite get what that is. And actually, I'm just seeing something that says counterfeit. I mean, okay, so the Metal Charizard, first of all, yeah, that makes sense that didn't. They've tried to claim that my Dark Blastoise was counterfeit. I mean, this was pulled out of one of the same packs as the Dark Raichu. So I don't quite know how that's come about, that they've decided that that's counterfeit. They haven't given any explanation as to why it is. I mean, I wasn't expecting a high grade for this because it has got beaten up over the years, but I've had this since the year 2000. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of baffled with that. And I guess I'm a bit confused with the Ancient Muse too. I don't know why they haven't graded them. That doesn't seem to make much sense to me. And obviously it's not. Never mind 3 cards they haven't graded. They haven't graded 4 because they didn't grade the Charizard either, which is fine. I half expected this one not to be graded, but they haven't graded any of these. And they have graded this, but they've decided that it's counterfeit. Even though, I mean, I'm fairly sure it can't be because it came from the same pack or the same sets of packs that Dark Raichu did, and they don't have a problem with the Dark Raichu. So that's confused me a little bit. But let's get back to the grades, because the rest of them have all been graded, and we'll see what we can get. And we actually haven't had the card that this Charizard is based off yet. Now I have the original shiny Charizard from the base set, from the Wizards of the Coast card. I sent that off. I'm not expecting that to be high. If that Dark Raichu is a 6, then maybe we're looking at a 3. It's kind of hard to judge, but I've seen cards of worse condition being graded like 4 or 5, but I think those were services that were being a little bit too lenient. So I'm guessing maybe a 3, but we'll see when we get in this. And if I'm understanding their grading scale correctly, I'm expecting a 3 with it. It's nothing special, but I kind of wanted to protect it with one of these cases. So first of all, what have we got up here? Okay, so this is the Pikachu V. We saw something similar to this with the when we opened up the Pokemon Celebrations Ultra Premium Collection. This isn't the one that we saw on, that I opened up on the video. This is actually another one that I sent in to be graded. That came straight out of the box, and it's come back as a 9. And yeah, I can understand. I mean, I to be honest with you, I don't know why it's not a 10. It may just be a centering thing or something. Obviously, there's no subgrades, so we can't really go into detail about why it's not a 10. But it's not. But 9, okay, that kind of makes sense. We got another Western one here, and this is the sort of stained glass window type Legendary Birds one from the which Elite Trainer box was that? That was Hidden Fates, I think. The Elite Trainer box. That's a 10 gem mint. Fair enough. I can't complain with that. As again, this came straight out of the Elite Trainer box and went straight off to be graded, so that's come back as a gem mint, and that's cool. And this is an example of with some of their more sought after cards, they offer a label which is matching to the card, and yeah, pretty happy with that. As I say, the cases still aren't perfect, but they're substantial enough that I don't think that really matters. And to be fair, if the card is a 10 and it stays a 10 because that's not going anywhere, yeah, okay, that's fine. What have we got here? We've got another one. Again, straight out of the Elite Trainer box. Gem mint. I wanted to kind of see. Sometimes I sent in duplicates of cards that came, you know, both coming straight out of boxes to see if they got the same grade. Not necessarily to test the consistency of their grading service, but also to just sort of see if a card came out of an Elite Trainer box, it's not always going to be in the same condition. In this case, they appear to be. They're both 10 gem mints, so I can't complain with those at all. We've got a Dark Charizard. Now, again, see, this is interesting, because the Dark Charizard is, again, from the same sort of packs that I had from the Dark Blastoise. Obviously, this one is not a non-holo version, as this one is holo. Now, this getting a 6 is kind of consistent with this, I guess. So we've got the Dark Raichu as a 6 and the Dark Charizard as a 6. You know, one's a holo, one's a not. But these kind of both make sense. This one doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why, but I guess I can try another service. But it's annoying that it's come back as a counterfeit. I mean, if it is genuinely a counterfeit, that I don't quite understand how it can be, but you know, whatever. We had another one of our Pikachu Black Star promos from the Ultra Premium collection. That's come back the same as a 9 mint. Again, that was one that I sent in to see if there was any difference between two that came straight out of a box, but no, they've both come back as a 9. Okay, fairly consistent there too. Oh, there we go though. So there is a third one from the Black Star promo. This one, however, has got an 8. Now, I don't know why one of these is an 8 and one of these is a 9. They look pretty similar to me. Maybe the centering is slightly different. I don't really know. But I'm not really seeing anything on these that would provide a different grade. But whatever it is, one's come back as an 8 and one's come back as a 9. So obviously, this one is now that's been graded 9 is arguably the more collectible version than this one. But to me, they look pretty much the same. But, you know, it is what it is. Like I say, just because they get pulled out of a box and go straight to grading doesn't mean they're always going to get the same grade. Now, we're going to go... Okay, so this is the Zamazenta V. Now, we have done a video on the Zamazenta and the Zacian. They're not elite... This one actually says Sword and Shield Ultra Premium Collection. This is actually from the Elite Trainer Box Plus. There was a Zacian and a Zamazenta one. Again, you can see these cases. I'm a bit disappointed in the condition of the cases, but you know, it is what it is. So we actually had 2 of these. This isn't the one that we pulled out from the video. This is a different one. I'll be sending those off for grading as well. Maybe using ace grading, maybe using somebody else. I don't know. But again, that came straight out of a box and come back as a 9 mint. So generally speaking, when they've come out of Elite Trainer boxes, they've been coming back as 9s. We've only had 1 or 2 10s. So that's a bit disappointing that we haven't, you know, 10s seem quite elusive. But as I say, it may just be that their grading scale is a bit harsh. Now, I can tell from the back of this card before I even pick it up. This is probably my Charizard because it's not in the best condition, but I'm thinking maybe a 3. Oh, wow. Only a 1? Wow. I mean, I know it's not in the best condition, but as I say, I've seen these in worse condition than this. I've seen ones with bends in them being graded 1. Never mind this, which is, you know, it's been played with, and on the back you can definitely see that it's been played with around the edges. The edges on the back are not that great, but for that to come back a 1, that's a surprise. That's a surprise. And as I say, this wasn't necessarily... I wasn't getting this graded because I want to sell it. I was getting this graded because I wanted to have it in a protective case, which is what it is. But even so, to have that come back as a 1 is a surprise. That, to me, seems a little bit too harsh. But, you know, if I was to send that off to another grading service, I think that would come back as a 3. Maybe a 4 even. But maybe, yeah, maybe it's just that ace grading are harsh but fair. I don't know. I'm a little lost for words with this one, and the Dark Blastoise have sort of stumped me a little bit, and the Ancient Muse. I don't really quite understand those, but okay, well, it's in its protective case. It's never going to get worse than that, so it's a 1, I guess. And then the last one that I sent in was... Aha! So, we had... I did think I sent more than one of these Charizard Vs. So again, this is an example of one that got pulled straight out of an Elite Trainer box. And I think if we go through the pile and I just find that other one... Where is it? Here it is. So, these were both pulled out at pretty much the exact same time. 2 different Elite Trainer boxes. One's come back as a 10 gem mint and one's come back as an 8. So, again, I don't really know why. There doesn't look like to be much difference between the 2 of them. I don't know why this one is a 10 and this one is not even a 9, but apparently they are. But it just goes to show that, yeah, just because you pull them out of an Elite Trainer box doesn't mean that you're going to get a guaranteed gem mint 10. And to be fair, that is what the whole point of grading is. Because the difference in them can be subtle, and if these were for sale, this one is going to sell for a lot more than this one. But again, I mean, every single one of these I've opened, there's been some imperfections in the casing. I don't know if that's just because ace grading are fairly new. I don't know if it's because they've they've been particularly busy or something. But yeah, the cases are not. Even though the cases, I think, if they were perfect, they'd be better than the PSA ones. Like the PSA ones are, kind of. There's nothing special about them, but they're fine the way they are. But these ones are properly chunky, and they feel like they really will protect the cards. But anyway, in terms of the ones that have come back, I mean, most of these seem to make sense. A lot of 10s and 8s, 10s, 9s and 8s that have, come when they've come straight out of the box, which all makes sense. And then when we get to some of the older cards, they start to go down in grades a little bit. So obviously, we had the Dark Blastoise, the French version. As I say, this has been sat in a folder for over 20 years. So for that to come back as an 8 is kind of good, actually. The two Salamance VMAXs, a 10 and a 9. Again, can't really complain with those. The Blastoise, the two that came out of the same starter set, they've both come back as 9. Can't really complain with those. The Dark Charizard, again, I thought 6 was a little harsh. I thought maybe that should be a 7, but, it is what it is. That's not too bad. The Dark Raichu, again, I think that's a little bit harsh, but I can understand that. And obviously, if I think that should be a 7, then these probably should all be one higher than the other. That one came back as a 7. I probably thought that should have been an 8. And then the Rayquaza is an 8. And I can't really complain with that. So the only ones that have sort of really stumped me is this Charizard's. I don't understand why that's a 1. This Charizard's. I don't see enough of a difference why one would be a 10 and an 8. I guess I would have thought that one would. If that one's a 10, I don't see why that's not a 9. And then the ones that also confuse me are the ones that didn't get graded. And I'm a bit annoyed that I never got an explanation. So obviously that one not getting graded for not fitting the case, completely understand, no problem. These 3, no idea. I don't understand. They didn't tell me why these weren't graded. It's obviously not that they don't fit the case, so I don't know, and I'm still a bit confused by this one. I don't know how the other ones that I sent in weren't, but this one is counterfeit. That doesn't quite make sense to me. And the thing is, it's been given its own serial number, but obviously it hasn't been put in a case because it's counterfeit. I don't know why you just wouldn't. I don't know why you wouldn't just not grade it. Like, I don't know why this one has not come back like this with no grade. So one that is, 3 of them that are perfectly fine have come back saying that they're not going to fit the case, and they haven't even tried to grade it. One of them has come back supposedly counterfeit, but they have actually graded it and given it its own serial number and things, but not in a case. And then the one that actually wouldn't fit in a case, yeah, fair enough, that hasn't been put in a case. But generally speaking, the grades kind of make sense, but on a sort of customer service point of view, I'm a little bit confused by that. But anyway, rather than me talking at you in the top right corner, let's switch again and we'll come back to the main bit for the wrap up. So what did I like and what did I not like about this service? Well, first of all, for the most part, this was handled very professionally throughout. Not only that, but they also physically handle everything well, and the cases are quite nice. They were packaged well, although they do seem a little bit imperfect in places. Having said that, they're certainly nicer than the dull but functional PSA cases. But one thing that is both good and also a hard pill to swallow is that they are pretty strict with their grading, and as I say, I mean bordering on harsh. I've definitely seen cards like my shiny Charizard here in much worse condition with similar or higher grades. Now, don't get me wrong, this was never going to be a 7 or an 8, but I was hoping for at least a 3 or a 4, not 1. Now sure, it hurts a bit, but it does mean that when you're out there looking at graded cards, you can rest assured that if it's been done by Ace Grading, you know that that is the minimum it could have got through another service. Some services will purposely grade higher so that you use them more, but it makes the grade less reliable. Now, what I didn't like is that they haven't even bothered to grade my Ancient Muse, and I don't know why. It's clearly not the reason they gave, that they don't fit in the cases, because they're a standard size. I mean, I have one right here from PSA, and they're also in the database too. I didn't add them as an additional load of cards, so I'm very confused by that, and a bit annoyed if I'm honest. Other than that, I can't really complain too much because everything was done fairly well. Obviously I would have liked to see more 10s, but that can't really be helped without lowering the trustworthiness of their whole grading process. And at the end of the day, I'm not selling my shiny Charizard, I just wanted a nice protective case for it, which, job done. But even so, a 1 does sting a bit. One thing it does highlight though is that, and I've already mentioned this, is that just because a card is fresh out of a pack or a box does not mean it's a guaranteed 10, as I purposely submitted multiple versions of the same card, which were pulled out of Elite Trainer boxes at the same time, and they got different grades. So again, when you see something with a 10 gem mint from Ace Grading, you can be confident that you're getting something damn near perfect. Anyway, that'll do it for this video. For more Pokemon content, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel, as we have regular streams and other videos that'll tickle your Pokemon pickle. But until the next one, I will see you next time. I need to think of a better sign off.